Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's webinar. I'm Joseph Novichkov, Senior Trading Manager with GDM. In today's session, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a look at another scalping system, but today we will actually focus on the 15-minute chart. As you can see on your screens, we're looking at the Euro-Dollar 15-minute chart. Also, before we proceed with the topic, I would like to remind you about the previous webinar for those that were not here, or let's say were not here on Wednesday, when we were talking about the dual support and resistance parabolic scalping system. We've been focusing on a 5-minute chart, an extremely well-performing system, which of course you can review one more time in our YouTube channel, as all of the sessions are recorded and uploaded as soon as we muster the edition of every webinar. Now, without losing too much time, as we're getting very close to the retail sales of US, and we're going to see a lot of volatility on the market in the next 28 minutes. If we're not done with the webinar by then, we will see the whole movement on the Euro-Dollar right here on the webinar itself. So today, focusing on a 15-minute chart, that means that we will mostly focus when taking profits and applying stop losses. We will mostly depend on the technical indicators when we do so. However, there is a rule here only for the stop losses. So when we apply a security stop loss, we should not go for more than 15 pips of stop loss, let's say, because the efficiency of the system relies on larger profits than losses in a matter of pips rather than the amount of winning trades. Most of all because all of the profits depend on our exiting compared to the technical indicators. Before losing too much time, let's see which indicators we'll be using. Those will be some which we've been discussing for many webinars so far, but the settings, however, are strictly different, as we're looking at a completely different system, the behavior of which mostly focuses on market momentum during the development of any price exchange. As one of the indicators is the again parabolic support and resistance. The other one is the relative strength index. However, when receiving a signal, we rely on both indicators to apply direction. But when we exit, obviously we rely mostly on the relative strength index rather than both in one direction, because the parabolic support and resistance is actually a delaying indicator, which actually gives us a false exit signal. But the settings of the RSI, on the other hand, are so well done for the time frame that we're getting an exit signal right on the top of a trend which is on the upside or at the bottom of a downtrend. Now, applying those two require special settings, which you will see in a matter of a few minutes. First of all, let's have a look at the parabolic. I've presetted all these so you can start writing down on a side of a piece of paper if you wish, or just make screenshots of what we're doing so far, so you can, if you wish to apply this system directly after the webinar, you can go ahead and do so without waiting for the master edition of the webinar, which will be uploaded next week. The 0202 parabolic settings are done so as to the time frame, but the settings we've been using the last time on the dual parabolic were completely different. We've been using some smaller step like 0.02. Also, we've been using a smaller maximum of 0.1 for the slow parabolic, and also for the fast one, 0.01 for a step and 0.1 for a maximum. Also, applying this on the chart, you might be able to see that it's a little bit chaotic. Now, first of all, this is the first step of the system. Do not pay attention to that, to those particular dots going above the price, below the price. What we're mostly interested in this parabolic is to give us a direction on time with our RSI. So let's go ahead, plot the RSI on our charts. As you can see, presetted the period of that RSI, which is 5. Some traders, however, using a period of 5, they're mostly focusing on smaller time frames like 1 minute and 5 minute charts, but compare it with the parabolic and with the 15-minute chart, I have came to the conclusion that it's performing extremely well, especially in terms of time. When we draw the line at the end of the month, you will see that the amount of losing trades are pretty much, let's say, 10-15% out of the whole trades that you've made. And this is only when we're trading technicals, without having in mind fundamentals like today. For example, high volatility trades are going to be expected, major volume on the market, a lot of money movement, especially around the retail sales, one of the most important gauges for the GDP. This is something that every trader should know. And to stay away, if you're a technical trader, just wait 4 hours after the announcement for the trend to cool down and take a direction. And of course, to prevent your balance from any kind of unnecessary losses. Also here is very, very important to notice the levels that we're going to use for that RSI. We're going to take the default settings of 30 and 70. Of course, we are going to include level 50, oversold conditions of level 20, and overbought conditions of 80. It's very, very important to use those extreme conditions. You will see why. Let's have a look at the whole picture on the chart. Now, also, you might notice a lot of chaotic movement on the RSI, especially when it comes in terms of the sideways direction, especially when the market is moving in a range. You can see here from this point on up to this point, you can see that the market is staying strictly within the boundaries of the default settings. But that is not what we're interested in. We're only interested in the extremums. First of all, because we're focusing on small time frames, small periods on, let's say, small settings, small input data to all technical indicators that we're using. Now, let's have a look at both of the indicators, what they're giving us, and at what period of time. Okay, once we have said all of this, first of all, we have to take a look at some of the recent movements of the market. The way we're using the RSI and the parabolic all together, first we have to take a look at the extreme conditions of the RSI. The conditions we're using the RSI to trade is a breakthrough the extremums of level 20 right now, but also we have to consider the direction of the parabolic. Now, in these conditions, we do not trade, simply because both of the indicators are incontrovertible to each other. The way we're taking our positions are, let's say, one of the perfect conditions we've seen so far. We have a parabolic occurring over here. We have our extremums occurring here. The RSI is breaking below the extremum of the overbought conditions of the RSI level 80, and the market is taking direction down. Now, the most important factor here is to when to take that profit. That's why we need the default settings, level 70 and level 30. Once the market or the volatility drops to level 30 here, we're exiting the market. It doesn't matter the amount of profit. So it could be 2 pips, it could be 5 pips, it could be 10 pips, it could be 100 pips. We definitely exit when the market touches the extremum of 30. And in this condition, let's say, when the parabolic occurs on the breakout, we're getting around 20 pips of profit. Now, first, let's notice that this is a 15-minute candle. Conservative traders might just need to wait until it closes so we can receive a second parabolic into a direction. However, we're scalping the market in these conditions. So ladies and gentlemen, it's not necessary with this system to wait so long. So we'll see price hikes during the time frame that the session closes. So somewhere around this candle, you can make your entry, and you can see the first announcement for our potential direction is this first bearish candle, breaking down the 80 level of overbought conditions of the RSI, declining down to 70, from where the parabolic changes direction, and the full profit potential is somewhere around 40 pips. That, in one lot terms, is about $400 in a matter of 30 minutes or 2 sessions, half an hour. That's $400 with one lot. Now, first of all, considering the amount of lots, when we spoke the last time, probably those that were here already remember what we've been talking about. Now, the appropriate risk management should not exceed 10% out of your full account balance or the whole equity. If you have some particular bonus systems or any other benefits that we've granted, out of the whole equity, 10% maximum. That means with this particular system, let's say about 10% out of $10,000 approximately, a little less than one lot, but let's consider it one lot is appropriate. That's about 15% of out of your equity, gives you $100 in a matter of half an hour. And that's only this. So once we actually realized that particular profit, we need to wait for the other conditions such as this one. However, in this sideways market, we don't really get it. Small positions could be taken in this particular environment. However, I wouldn't really recommend using the RSI or the system before the volatility drops below the 20 level. When it drops below the 20 and start rising, then we have to look at the change of the parabolic. And again, trading up to the 80 level of the RSI, the 70 level of the RSI here, so we can take that profit. Or speaking in terms of stop loss, about 15 pips, you can see it comes way over here, way above those price hikes. So in this particular case, you're secured. Now, speaking in terms of stop losses, this system experiences a well behavior because the on-time signal that you receive with these particular indicators and their settings are protecting you from unnecessary losses above $150 on a lot. Meaning, let's have a look at some other particular cases, like this one, for example, here. a case like this one, also a very valuable advice I might add here is to always look at the candlestick formations because on small time frames they're very, very powerful, especially also on large time frames like daily chart, weekly chart, and monthly chart. They're also very powerful. Now in this case here, and we can see that the RSI has broken above its extreme low conditions. From here until here, we have realized $160. Again, this is about 15-16 pips of profit. But in terms of stop loss, your stop loss comes way down here. So you are protected. Even if for some particular case you become greedy in the next few hours, this particular zone of support would hold its ground, and as you can see, you might even realize that particular profit. I wouldn't really advise it for a very simple reason, because we do not want to stay within that trade for so long. Now, the first occurrence of a breakthrough or the first occurrence of a hit of the 70 level of the RSI is also appropriate to take profit. Now, it doesn't matter what's the size of that profit. This is a scalping system, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a swing strategy. It's not a mid-term to long-term particular trend following system. So it doesn't matter the size of the profit. Once you hit that 70 level, take out that profit and wait for another signal. This is the most conservative way. If you're more aggressive, you can always wait for the 80 extremum here, and of course for the 20 extremum down here or down here. This is also okay to be used. Now let's move a little bit backwards, see how this system has been performing for the past few days. I've talked about this one. Now another case we can see over here, okay, we have an extremum over here. However, our parabolic is still bullish, so this is a false signal. When we talk in terms of the system and its accuracy, it has to be a condition where both indicators are in line. So it doesn't matter if you get a case like this one, two tops over here, we can see that the market stays sideways for quite some time. And this is a particular way we do not want to trade. We want to be always on a profit. Basically, when I mean always on a profit, means when we enter our position, in the next few minutes, we should automatically get straight into a positive territory of our balance. If we don't, that means the particular signal fails, and we will actually either get in a negative territory for just a little while before we get back into positive, or hit a stop loss. Basically, those are the conditions. You either hit a stop loss or the extremums of the RSI where you're taking your profit. Let's go a little bit backwards, see what we have. Over here, ladies and gentlemen, we see that just after the RSI hits its extremums, and it starts going down, meaning the volatility starts dropping. Just a second, ladies and gentlemen, I just need to fix the screen a little bit. It got paused for a few minutes here. So once the RSI is signaling a negative direction, we can see that ultimately in 2-3 sessions our trend reverses. So this is a good way to take a position until the RSI hits its rock bottom, so to speak, and take about 30 pips of profit, which is another $300 in a matter of 7 sessions. This is the full potential of that position. As you can see, this is a triangle which it didn't withhold. So in these conditions, in about less than 2 hours time, you're realizing $300 of profit. Also, here in these conditions, we can see that our RSI is down at the very bottom here, springing up, but the chaotic movement of these candlesticks are preventing us from entering a position. Quickly we can see a broken 50 level here, where of course our position could take fruit for a brief 20 pip profit in a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, realizing another 200. So it's time now to see to our rules and exceptions. We're talking about, in terms of rules, RSI plus support and resistance parabolic should be always in line or in direction, in positive direction or negative direction, in one direction. Exceptions of this rule: 50 level crossed by the price plus the parabolic support and resistance in direction of the price. This is the exception of the rule. This only occurs, ladies and gentlemen, in large volume. So those conditions should always be at your desk when you're trading with this system, only to increase your profits. Most conservative way to trade is to use only rule number 1 and ignore rule number 2. Stop losses, 15 pips, not less. It could be larger than 15 pips, but not less than 15 pips. However, I would recommend as an optimum stop loss level of 15 pips. Even if you hit your stop loss, this is only one currency pair, which we've already went through about 5 different cases where we saw 1 or 2 cases of false signal, and of course 3 particular cases of potential large profit. So in a matter of a day and a half or 2, you're realizing a profit around $1,000 average, let's say, from what we've seen so far. Now, this is only on one lot with the scalping system. Let's also talk in terms of take profit. Take profit goes to RSI on the extremums of default levels of 30 or 70. This is for conservative. Exception levels could go for 20 and 80 for larger profit, but that means that you have to have a larger balance, let's say using about 5% out of your whole equity, which in most cases derives at a very good balance at the end of the month. Speaking of return on investment, this particular system could go up to 300%. However, bear in mind that those rules that you see here, 1 and 2, should always be kept in mind. If you're conservative, you might be able to get to 100% return on investment on this one with the system, with rule number 1, and larger than that with this, along with rule number 2. Also, strictly important to use these recommendations of stop loss and take profit. All of this, go ahead, write it down. Let's go for the particular settings. RSI gets for period of 5 with the levels you can see over here on the right, 80, 70, 50, 30, and 20. And the parabolic support and resistance goes for 0.2 and 0.2. Now, it's no point to start playing around with these settings. You will just get confused. It's very important if you're using the system as it is to keep following those rules, the settings as they are, without the necessity of trying to configure something out of this, because I've tried most of these particular settings of this one. This is the best way to trade with it so far as I've found. And of course, the almighty 200 exponential moving average always on your charts. For future references, of course, as you can see, in a lot of cases there is a lot of support and resistance on these levels as well as here. So some market participants would take as an advantage to see larger profits, to see an additional entry, for example. On this case here, you might find it exceptional if you enter on the break of the 50 level and of course exit again up here or up here. These are also conditions you might consider, but this is just an exception. It's not into the scalping system as I've configured. The rules here, 1, 2, stop loss, take profit, settings of the system itself are only those that you need to use in order to profit well on the market. This is the recommendation I can give you. Now, whatever that is of any interest to you, like any particular incorporation of this system into your trading plan, I am always there to help you out with that. Also, for any particular plan development, trading plan development, you can always rely on me to help you out with that. The only thing you have to do is just reach out, go to our website, GDMFX.com, just click on the right down bottom of the screen where the pop-up chat will come out and the support department will assist you with whatever you need. Also, you can quickly get on the phone, call us here at the office, ask for me or for any of my colleagues, and we will be there right away as soon as we can. Also, for further notice, there is also another way to trade on a 15-minute chart. This is a separate system, however. I'm not going to present it today, but it involves the directional index movement, directional movement index, which I presented many webinars ago. There are a little bit few other settings you might be able to incorporate, so if you're interested in that, just make an appointment with the support department and I'll get back with you, or just send us an email at webinars@gdmfx.com with whatever questions you might have. This is also one other way. Also, there is also another, this is a third well-performing scalping system on a 15-minute chart involving customized settings on the Fibonacci retracement, the classic Fibonacci retracement. This is also another thing which is very popular right now. A lot of investors are relying on this one based on larger time frames to find better entries. So this is something I can also give you an advice, but in a separate session, one-on-one session if you wish. So for today, that's all about it. I will give you some time to take a look at the market, see what's doing in a matter of in the next few minutes when the retail sales are coming out from the US. And for further questions, I'm always there to help you out. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you next week. On Wednesday and on Friday, we're going to be talking about other scalping systems like the dual time frame scalper and of course the counter trend scalping system, which is a very well performing system. Involves large volumes, especially when we speak about news trading. From technical perspective, this is a very good system, how you can use the retracement of the particular trend so you can make large profits as well. That's all for today. Stay tuned, and of course join us next week for more scalping systems. That's all about it today. And before we actually depart, you can see the movement, so we can see that the news for the retail sales are particularly good. even though I haven't seen them already because the monitors are covered with webinars right now, so I'm going to take a look at it. But judging the movement of the euro right now, we're seeing a lot of downward pressure on the euro. And as you can see, one thing I mentioned about the system and the particular way of trading, it actually protects you from moves like this one because it's not in line with everything that we've talked so far. That's all about it. I'll see you next time. Good luck with trading. Bye-bye.